You are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
Come on, bitches. This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike. That is Evo. It is week 18. The last week of the season is here. The Browns season is over. Thank fucking Christ. But we are here with my man, Evo. You have a lot to watch today, a lot to play for today. Some teams have a lot to play for today. Most of the teams don't, but we have our final week of gambling that we have to get underway. I'm over 500. You're back over 500. Man, exciting week. Notoriously tough week to bet. Let's have a day. Welcome in, brother. How you doing, Evo?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm trying to stay cool, calm, and collected because it is a big day for my team, for the NFC North, and a big day for the NFL because we're getting the final seeding for the playoffs and for a good part of the league, final seeding for draft picks, so we can start.
Yeah.
There's going to be a divergence here of a lot of people looking forward towards the offseason and a lot of people looking towards this postseason. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to bring up a lot of opportunity for us to do different content and stuff like that. You know, off-season content is big for us, looking forward towards draft picks, scouting guys, mock drafts and stuff like that. And I fully expect tonight, if I'm not completely messed up from my game, to start on and possibly be putting out a mock draft as early as tonight, because I've already kind of started to dabble a little bit in that. But no, I'm super stoked. Super fun day of football, and I can't wait to get into it.
I'm excited to do a full Browns mock draft for the for all of 10 or 11 picks that we have now, just to see what I can make happen. I've seen Cam Scatterbo go super late in these drafts, and a lot of these mock drafts that I've seen, that'll work for me. I'd take Cam late in this draft. Man, a lot of football to unfold. I'm getting ready to hop right into that draft train, though. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be rooting for your Vikings probably on this playoff run. Hopefully, I get to take a week off from them. Maybe they'll get a win today. Beat that Lions team, get that number one spot. But, man, it's been a hell of a run. I'm going to pop the picks up for the people, kind of show them where we've gotten to throughout the season. So, started this week, Evo, you're 2-0. You needed that. You had a terrible week. That's the only way I can say it, brother. That was a terrible week you had last week at 2-14. But on the season now, with the 2 wins this week, you're back up over 500. That's not bad at all when you're talking about betting nothing but the spread all year long. So, but you have a good day. You finish the year over 500. I am currently 11 games over 500. I would have to have a very bad week to lose the season series to you. But man, I'm also very pumped with this over 500 mark. I'm not there yet. It's still got a lot of games to pick today. We got 14 games to get through today, and it's a tough week to gamble.
Yeah,
I like where I'm at.
Yeah, it's difficult to gamble. We're starting to see that, you know, when we get to our Lineman Lounge parlay, some of the parlay capabilities weren't even there for same game parlays, just because backups and things are starting to, like, FanDuel's being weird about that. We still got a same game Lineman Lounge parlay for you based off FanDuel. But before we get into that, you want to look at the games that happened yesterday and some of the fallout that's already happened. Because if you want to get into that, I have something really important I got to go run and do, and I'll be back in like 30 to 45 seconds.
Absolutely. I will go ahead and do that. So yesterday's games kicked off yesterday afternoon with the Browns. There we go. Kicked off yesterday afternoon with the Browns taking on the Ravens. And I mean, this kind of went the way everybody expected. Went a little worse than I was hoping for. My picks, I took the Browns plus 17.5. I was hoping for a backdoor cover. We kind of maybe got a little late. That we didn't get a little late left. I thought maybe something would happen. We saw a good play, but Bailey Zappe's not ever going to be the answer. We don't have a quarterback on this roster that is the answer, in my opinion. Fired Ken Dorsey today. So there's a lot to go into with the Browns, but in terms of what this means for playoffs and playoff seeding, with this game, that meant that the Steelers could not win the division, did not need a win either. However, with a win, Steelers could have eliminated the Bengals from playoff contention. So we got Ravens guaranteed locked into the division because they beat the Browns. Browns are also covered. Didn't help my bet. Bengals beat the Steelers. Steelers doesn't matter for them. Bengals still alive because of that. And Bengals covered the -1.5 that we both took. Eva, welcome back.
How's it going? Sorry, I know.
Is that a Remy meow that we had to take care of? Did Remy meow?
No. Remy is meowing, just not at me. And they're just little mix. They're just little chirps. No, the boys, my sons Dario and Demetrio had to go back to Ohio a couple days ago, but today is their 9th birthday. They are on the phone. Need to go wish them a happy birthday. So on the show as well.
100%.
Dario, Demetrio, happy 9th birthday. Congratulations, boys. I love you and hope you have an awesome day.
Happy birthday, boys.
But back to the games. You were on the Browns-Ravens game or the Bengals-Steelers?
So I started talking about Browns-Ravens. I was starting to take a left turn, though, into a diatribe about all the things that have happened, especially with the Ken Dorsey fire. I steered myself back to center and just started talking about what the implications of yesterday were.
Yeah, well, I didn't really get your take because I wasn't here, on the firing, but I felt like, you were positive about Ken Dorsey being there at the beginning of the year, and then things quickly fell off. Are you happy to see him gone at this point?
Yeah, so I thought that if they were going to stick with Deshaun Watson, that they should have to try to cater the offense to him. That didn't work, though, because Deshaun Watson is a fatally flawed quarterback at this point. He cannot win in the NFL. I mean, it's actually, well, I take that back. You know what? The team has won games with him at quarterback, but he is not the reason that they are winning games. It feels like the team has won games in spite of what has happened with Deshaun Watson. So when you hire a guy like Ken Dorsey to come in and you're going to use his offense to make Deshaun right, and Deshaun doesn't get right, there's no reason to keep Ken. I don't think that our intent is going to be to play Watson. I think it will probably happen, but I think that there's going to be a veteran that we go and take a look at. It might be Kirk Cousins. We might take a look at a quarterback on a late round flyer. I don't know that they will go quarterback in the first round. I'm not sure I want them to. I'm kind of entrenched on that trade down.
You're locked into one of those top 3 picks now.
Exactly. We are locked in it, so we can get one of the quarterbacks or Travis Hunter or trade down and get a King's ransom, which is kind of where I'm going because we need to build the offensive and defensive line of this team.
The difficult part is that you say King's ransom, but with the kind of dearth of quarterback talent at the top, like it is a tough year.
I actually think that makes our value better because there are only 2 guys that you could see as a top pick.
We've said it before.
You will get a bidding war, I'm hoping. Let me try to talk everybody into this.
Yeah.
That be a bidding war to come up there and get that pick. So you can go with that guy because there's not a lot of them.
We've said the same before, but desperation, stinky cologne, and some people like to wear it. So, like, right now you do have teams like the Raiders who have been that very logical fit with the Shadur Sanders, who feel like they could try to jump up there early because right now they're around like pick 8 or something like that. They could try to jump up there to get a Shadur, beat someone like the Titans and Callahan feel like a good fit for Shadur. And obviously Cam Ward is that kind of more toolsy guy, higher upside, more of a modern NFL quarterback if you can tune down some of the issues with them. I could see someone trying to trade up and there possibly could be a bidding war because you do have multiple teams that are very much so in dire need of a quarterback. The Giants come to mind. The Giants cannot get a top 3 pick now, but I feel like, after today, if they still have a head coach and a GM that are currently there, those guys are, I don't know how you can go another year without drafting a quarterback because they don't have an answer at quarterback at all on the roster right now. and the options in free agency are really not that great. I mean, do you want to go out there and as a giant, GM and try to get like a Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields and get
That's the
by
one
for
I
a
want,
year with
Justin
that?
Fields. Stop saying his name. If you're going to say Justin Fields, just make that synonymous with Cleveland. Let's go ahead and speak that into existence.
Everyone generally knows what's going on, though, Mike. It's like we're not slipping one by these NFL GMs, right?
I know,
but you've got a pretty sparse option set of quarterbacks you can get a free agency or trade or whatever. So it's tough. Giants' perfect scenario would be to get another Manning in there, right? In maybe a year.
No.
That is,
putting those names with teams that are not Cleveland.
Think like the Giants here. And yes, look, Jets need a quarterback. Eric brings that up. Raiders, Titans, Giants, you guys definitely to some extent. There's a bunch of teams and only 2 realistic guys. Though, if you look at the way that Jackson Dart's fucking performing in that bowl game as well, like, dude, I like him. I like him. I think he's going to be that mid-round guy that might surprise. But
I like Kyle McCord as a riser in this draft.
He looked real rough at the beginning of the year of this season, but you never know. But you're just that's a little Ohio State bias there.
Hey, worked through adversity, loses his spot at one of the premier places, and then goes out there and sets ACC records. Just saying.
All right. Well, look, it's going to be interesting regardless. If I'm your Browns, I would probably look to trade down as well. And you can trade down and still be in the top 10 for one of the teams that wants to go get a quarterback. And it puts you in a position to maybe get one of the offensive linemen that can be a guard or a tackle. Because there's only a couple guys that really fit. And as far as offensive linemen in this first round, and they start around
our offensive line coach. We have no idea who the fuck fits.
Well, a guy who can play fucking offensive line for one, and you have had some issues with that this year, right? So some of the better prospects are more around that pick 10, 8 to 10 range is where they'll start to come off the board, I think, because it's not like super talented at tackle and guard at the top end of this draft. So moving back, being able to get some more picks, that would probably be nice for you. If you find a way, look, I would not be opposed to you guys trading that first round pick away for future firsts and future capital. Like not having a first round pick this year.
Don't fucking no. I want to draft somebody in the first fucking round. Don't say that.
I do too. But look, same like my Vikings. Yeah, we're going to be picking late in the first, but I want us to trade our first round pick.
It makes sense when you're that late in the draft. We're going to have a top 3 pick. If we trade out of the first round, we better get a whole team, and it better not be the Panthers.
Okay. I'll pitch it to you this way. Would you rather trade back somewhere maybe in that top 10 and get a role player, hopefully a really good role player, or would you like to trade out of the first round this year, get some extra picks this year, and at least a first next year, if maybe not your first next year and the year after, and use that to go out and get your franchise quarterback like Arch Manning?
I don't know what the trade calculation is, but to go from the third, at worst, the third pick to all the way out of the draft, of the first round of the draft, you would have to give up on the charts. I'm thinking your entire fucking draft. So I guess would I take a team's entire draft the next year?
Future first.
Sure, yeah. If it's the Panthers, now I want it. I just don't want their players.
No, you're taking future first round picks. That's posturing for future years.
You would need to give like the capital you would have to give up to go from in the top 3 to all the fucking way out is insane. So no,
your GM's been known to do some crazy shit.
Yeah, very true.
Our
GM, I think, is still going to be our GM for a little while. We'll see what happens Monday.
Yeah,
but we didn't wait for the O-line and the OC. We took care of that shit on Sunday.
Yeah. Now, before we get too deep into this, where we have a whole show about 2 games,
yeah,
I still have a couple of questions. I know where you sit on this. I know what you want on this. But pragmatically and realistically,
Okay.
do you think Myles Garrett ever puts a Browns uniform on again?
Do I think that I think there's a possibility. Do I think in the
I think it's
best
possible too. I'm asking, do you think it happens?
yes, I do think it happens.
Okay.
I really do. Because of the way they are going to continue to manipulate the cap, they're going to be able to go out and get a guy like a Kirk Cousins on the cheap and try to at least address the situation. Miles didn't say necessarily go out and get a new quarterback. He needs to know what the plan is moving forward. If the organization comes to him and says the plan moving forward is we're going to sign Kirk Cousins to a 1-year prove-it deal, and then we're going to attack the quarterback draft in 2026 when there's guys projecting like Arch Manning and things like that. Is that the answer that he's going to like? I don't know. I'm not Myles fucking Garrett, but that is at least a plan. He didn't say that you have to find me a new guy. So granted, I do think that he is talking specifically about some things with his comments, but he didn't say the words, get me a new quarterback. So I can't say that that's what he's saying.
Well, he probably can't say that because Deshaun's on the roster right now, and that would be bad locker room, and Garrett isn't a bad locker room guy necessarily.
I don't
But we
think he's a
know
bad
what he
locker room guy at all. I
means.
think he's a really good fucking locker room
Yeah.
guy. Leader.
But we know what he means. Give me a
Yeah.
new fucking quarterback and a path forward. Like,
we just need to come up with a plan that makes sense. Would that plan work with Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields on a 1-year prove-it deal and attack the draft? And we're going to trade out of the fucking first round this year and stack up. I don't know, because is Myles Garrett willing to lose at least one more year of his career in his prime to a bad Browns team? Because if we trade out and we do that, we're going to suck dick next year too.
All right. Well, so you could trade that first overall pick and Myles Garrett and get 3 first-round picks and then some change, maybe. Like, that's if you're gonna tear this thing down to
you would do that with 2 completely different organizations, so you can maximize your game from each. You would not combine those ever.
You probably should. You probably should, but I still have some questions about whether or not Andrew Berry makes the right decisions on these things all the time.
Andrew Berry might be getting a promotion to another position inside the organization.
The fuck is this? The U.S. government?
Louis Riddick could be my GM, and I would be okay with that.
Oh, Eric says trade the pick and Judy. Judy had a couple of those good weeks, but
yeah, listen, Jerry Jeudy had a tough fucking week 18. He dropped a lot of balls this week.
Yeah. Him and George Pickens both, which in that Bengals game, George Pickens, one of the big reasons why they weren't able to get the win, Bengals beat the Steelers 19-17 and keep their playoff hopes alive. Steelers continue to look like a capital F fraud team. And yeah, Pickens, 1 catch, 0 yards, 3 drops.
Did you see the tweets about the text from a reporter? It's like, I hope this is the last time I ever have to interview this motherfucker.
I did not know.
So there's a reporter inside the Steelers locker room talking about
No, I didn't see that. But look, if Pickens wants, he can have a awesome career on X as CTESPN2. Because I feel like those guys just fit and mesh perfectly.
I love CTESPN, bro. AB, now while he does a lot of questionable shit sometimes, this thing is hilarious that he's got going.
The award show that he did was
the cracker of the
bonkers.
Day is hilarious.
Yeah, I loved it. But either way, Bengals get the win. Steelers lose. Steelers are going into the playoffs limping. They are very possibly playing a team like Baltimore right in the first round in the wild card. I think that they're probably quickly out. They do not look that good right now. On the other hand, Bengals, they didn't really look that good yesterday either. Their offense was stymied a lot, but they keep their playoff hopes alive. They still need some help, though. I'm going to pull up this graphic here real quick, just so that way we can see. Bengals down at the bottom there. They clinched with a win versus the Steelers, which they did. They did their part. Now they're going to be sitting today watching the Broncos and the Dolphins to see if both of those teams end up losing. And we'll get into our picks here for this Sunday game pretty shortly. But they need a lot of good things to happen for them. And then the NFC, obviously, we'll get into these games here too. The Bucks will clinch with a win versus the Saints, and that would take that NFC South spot, right? So, anything else to go over with these two games? Look, Ravens look really fucking good. Lamar had himself a huge day, historic day there. It is wild how this MVP conversation is going to go between Lamar and Josh Allen. The difference, I think, is that Lamar has so many. I mean, he's got so many other Pro Bowlers around him on that team, and Josh Allen is doing it with less. I mean,
so yes, Josh Allen is doing it with less talent on his team for sure. But I do think that Lamar is also making other guys look better as well. Like Derrick Henry, I was very down on Derrick Henry. He is running at a crazy high yards per carry clip, highest of his career, where we saw him really petering off there in Tennessee. So you don't get a huge jump like that in yards per carry unless there is probably another threat that is making you worried. And that's Lamar Jackson because he is so fucking dynamic. So we have to give him credit for that because
he has
there are other guys that are making him better, but he is making other guys way better as well.
Yeah, he has really turned it on this year as a passer. 4,000 yards, over 4,000 yards passing, over 800 yards rushing. He's doing it all. Like he is, this year is like he's been getting progressively better as a passer. This is the first year that I can truly say as a passer, he is pretty fucking good. His stats this year are better than last year where he won that MVP. It is going to have to be a conversation going forward. I felt like Josh Allen had it locked up, but I don't know when the MVP voting actually happens. But I think the playoffs are probably going to start to play a role here because how can't
that's supposed to? It's a regular season award.
Yeah, it's tough.
So it's really hard to dispute who's more valuable to their team. Do I like the Ravens more than I like the Bills if each of those quarterbacks are off their team? Yeah, probably. I think the Ravens are probably a little bit better constructed roster-wise than the Bills are. So Josh Allen's ability to elevate lesser to a better record, while maybe the stats are not as high, granted he has 12 fucking rushing touchdowns. That plays a factor in it for me too. Right now, I was on that Josh Allen was that dude. Lamar has put up some crazy numbers. They're winning. They just won their division. And Josh probably isn't going to play today. So that might
he's getting his one snap. He's getting his one snap. Look, I think it'll end up coming down to whoever wins the MVP, the other guy is going to get the Offensive Player of the Year award based off of how they're playing. Like we're in that sort of territory, which sucks for guys like Saquon and whatnot who are putting up, also stellar years.
2,000-yard rushing year should be acknowledged. Saquon is having one of the greatest seasons by a running back in fucking history.
Yeah, for sure. But all right, man, we got games here going on in not too long. Yeah. I think it's time for us to get into our Sunday slate of games. Week 18, the last week for NFL football for all the teams out there. And we're going to start off with the Carolina Panthers going into the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are favored at home, -7.5 points at -110 odds. You can give those points to the Panthers for -110 odds. Over under a 48.5. Falcons, again, like we just saw in that graphic, they need to win and they need the Bucs to lose in order to wrap up that NFC South. Do you think that they got what they need going up against this Carolina Panthers team?
Who do I think they have what they need against this Carolina Panthers team? I think they have probably what it takes to win, yeah. Do I think that the Falcons are going to cover? No, not necessarily. I think the Panthers are that team that's been wildly inconsistent all year. 1 week is good, 1 week is bad. Last week was a bad week. I think they probably come out and play a little bit more competitive this week. We see another little, Bryce Young might be a guy that we can continue to play with going forward. I think the Falcons win, I think they win a closer game than 7.5, though. I'm going to take the Panthers, and I'm going to take the points, man.
All right. I'm going to take the Falcons minus the 7.5. I think this is Penix's, third game starting now. Things start to roll a little bit. He's going up against a very bad defense at home. Kyle Pitts didn't drop everything that came his way last week, which is a good sign that maybe there's a little connection going on there. Not a huge connection, but a little connection. And at the end of the day, the Falcons are playing at the same time as the Bucs here. They are going to be playing their balls off to try to get that last playoff spot. This is desperation mode, which means that they're going to be a little bit more aggressive. So give me the Falcons minus the 7.5. Again, I don't like taking more than a touchdown here, but we have to remember the Panthers are the Panthers. That Panthers defense is bereft of talent. And this Falcons offense does have a lot of really good playmakers there. I think the Falcons are going to do what they need to do their part to try to get in, ultimately probably fail, but I'll take the Falcons minus 7.5.
All right. All right.
All right. Next up, we have the Washington Commanders going into Dallas. Cowboys are home dogs, plus 7.5 points at minus 120 odds. You can drop those points for the Commanders as the away team for minus 102 odds. Over under of 42.5. Commanders have locked up a playoff spot, but they don't know exactly which spot just yet. Still some seeding to happen today at 11-5. Green Bay Packers also at 11-5, so they don't know which wild card slot they're going to get. It's either going to be 6 or 7. So winning today, I believe, puts them into that 6 slot. It's a seeding situation here. And the Cowboys, on the other hand, they're not playing for a whole lot right now other than pride and apparently to keep Mike McCarthy his job. Mike Zimmer going out there and getting engaged to his surprisingly 42-year-old model girlfriend. I thought she looked younger than that, but congrats to him. It's good for him because he's pushing 70. So is he going to be completely focused on this? Does he think he's going to have a job going forward with the Cowboys? Does he think any of them are going to have a job going forward with the Cowboys? Who knows? He might be focused a little bit elsewhere. Either way, Cowboys underdogs at home here heavily. Where are you going in this one, Mike?
This one for me made a lot of sense because the Commanders are still going to play their people. They're still kind of playing for something, and the Cowboys are playing for nothing. I mean, they really haven't played for much of anything all year. It's what it felt like. They had a great week 1. There was a lot of hype when they beat the shit out of the Browns. And then a lot of things fell off very quickly. The offense didn't work. The defense got hurt. Cooper Rush looks just as good as fucking Dak Prescott for $235 million less or some crazy shit. I'm not in on the Cowboys at all. Give me the Commanders and the team that cares, wants to win, to actually go out there and put together a good game.
Yeah, look, Cowboys, again, they don't have a whole lot to play for, but they feel like they're still playing for something, which apparently is their coaching staff, if they really want them to stick around. I don't get it. We are McCarthy haters on this pod. I've hated him since he was with the Packers. I was super disappointed when the Packers moved on from him. I wanted him to stick around there and just continually fumble the bag there. But I think that they might have some teeth to him. I think this one could be closer than this line is. However, I'm going with you. I'm going Commanders minus 7.5. They are playing their starters. I like what Jaden Daniels doing in the playoffs. This Washington team could be really dangerous. So I'm taking Commanders minus 7.5 here.
All right, there we go.
All right, next up, Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers, NFC North rivalry matchup. One team playing for a whole lot of nothing. The other one, that Packers team, like I said, still fighting for the 6th or 7th seed. And look, the seeding when it comes to this NFC playoff scenarios matters a lot because you do have the Philadelphia Eagles locked into the 2 spot. So whoever ends up getting that 7th seed ends up going into Philly and playing the Eagles. And that's not a team that you really want to go play right now. They are looking really good. So both of these teams, the Packers and the Commanders, are probably playing hard. They're both playing in this early time slot. So with the Packers, I feel like they got a lot to be playing for. But right now, the line is Packers minus 10.5 at home, minus 104 odds. You can give those points to the Bears for minus 118 odds, over under 41.5. And this Bears team, despite some of the players coming out and being like, fuck the Packers, that's all we're caring about this week is we're going after them. We want to, kind of put a damper on the end of their season.
I'm thinking about vacation.
That's the problem, is that you still have the comment a couple weeks ago where they're thinking about vacation. Look, this Bears team is reeling right now. They are not good. They are going into Green Bay in January. January time in Green Bay is rough to play in. And this Packers team has not done good against teams over 500, but teams under 500, they've handled pretty handily. With them having something to play for, the minus 10.5, while it's a lot, I'm taking that minus 10.5 for Green Bay because I don't think that they're going to throttle down. They need to prove something that they can actually, that they deserve to be in this playoff, other than the fact that they have a decent record, because they need to go into the playoffs with some positivity, because after that loss last week to the Vikings, like there's a lot of doubters about this Packers team, and there's no doubt that they're good. They've got a good roster. They can make a dent in the playoffs. But if the Packers end up going into the playoffs as that 7 seed and have to go up to Philly to play them, that's a really, really fucking tough matchup. So they don't want to do that. They want to do their part and win this game. I think they're going to win it handily. I'll take the Packers minus the 10.5. And it's interesting for me that go ahead.
I was gonna say this was 9.5 fucking hour and a half ago. So this is continuing to grow. I don't like 10.5 nearly as much as I did the 9.5 when I took it this morning, but I'm going to stay with the same thing. You're talking about going up to Lambeau in January. It's cold as fuck everywhere over in this part of the country right now. I understand the Bears are from Chicago. The weather's not crazy, but going into Lambeau at this time of year is bad for teams. All teams, especially the fucking Bears. Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. Like he is. So that was the entire tenure of Aaron Rodgers, basically. What was that 14 years, 15 years up in Green Bay? And then the Favre years where he owned the fucking Bears up there as well. So it's been 30 years since the Bears have done really much of anything in consequence up in Lambeau. Yeah, the Packers minus 10.5 still feels okay.
Yeah, 17 degrees, mostly cloudy there today, 7 mile per hour winds expected. So weather it'll be cold. Shouldn't play a huge factor. If anything, those Bears are going to be like standing next to the heaters and being like, let's roll this up. Let's get it over with. Let's go down to Jamaica or something.
You see the giant dick of fucking cold weather across the country?
I did. That big pink throbby pennix across the center of the country. Now, interesting reports coming out of Chicago. A lot of head coach conjecture going around. Ben Johnson obviously being one of the top candidates there. Apparently, Ryan Poles really likes Brian Flores and wants to talk to him as well. However, the stuff with Ben Johnson is that he kind of wants Poles out, or his camp wants Poles out of there, and they want to pull in a GM of his choice. Do you think that that's worth, like, how much sway can a head coach have, or should he have with that sort of GM situation? I'm not sold on Poles, but I'm not against what Ryan Poles has done there because he's constructed a pretty good roster. It's just he's failed on the coaching staff.
Poles has constructed a good roster, but what he is trying to do again is hire a coach who is not designed or has not shown that he is a guy you want to be in charge of the growth of your young quarterback who maybe lacks confidence at times. Do we not remember what the fuck happened with Tua? I don't know why Flores would be the choice. I like Flores as a coach. I think he will make a great head coach somewhere. Not in fucking Chicago.
Believe me, brother, I do not want Flores to go to Chicago. I absolutely don't want him to leave the Vikings, but if he does leave, I don't want him going to an NFC North team. I fucking can guarantee you.
Do you worry? Like, does his ability to grow a quarterback not make you like, okay, well, I mean, his defense will be good, but
it all depends on the offensive coordinator that he would bring up there with him. But I'm not focused on that because I know he's.
What other OC are you looking for right now?
I don't know. There's options. He could take Josh McCown off the Vikings roster, who could put something together good. He's been doing good things with the quarterbacks and with KOC this year. That scares me in general. Look, even if their offense isn't good, that defense will be fucking nasty to have to play twice a year. So I don't want him to go up there. Ben Johnson makes a lot of sense, but look, if he's wanting his own GM and the Bears, the McCaskey family are not
Poles
ready
will
to
never
move off
hire.
of polls, I think the best fit for them is Gruden, man. Like Gruden's already there in Chicago with Barstool. I don't know if you've watched Gruden on the Foreplay series, their golf
I've
series on
seen clips,
Barstool.
but I have not actually watched a full episode or anything.
Gruden, specifically the Foreplay series where he's golfing with Trent, dude, it got me fired up. He's just giving golf stories and stuff like that, but the dude is such a fucking bro and a motivator. I'm like, dude, I kind of want to play football for this fucking guy. I want his emails in my inbox, dude. He's fucking getting me riled up. Like, he would be a fun motivator. He would get the city excited. And I think that the personality types, he could end up working with Caleb. Like, he is a good motivator. He's going to be direct with him, which Caleb, I think, needs, but also he's going to break him down and pick him right back up. I think that would be a really good offensive fit if they aren't able to bring in a guy like a Ben Johnson. That's just my 2 cents.
So I don't hate that. Gruden also a guy good with quarterbacks.
Right.
Not
He's there in Chicago, man.
Not a defensive head coach. But, I mean, do you think that Poles is worried about bringing in a guy like Gruden who carries so much weight? Because isn't that one of the reasons that he's worried about bringing in a guy like Ben Johnson? Because Ben Johnson might want to push him out.
I think it's more on the nose with Ben Johnson because Ben Johnson apparently has GM candidates, guys that he knows from previous spots that he wants there. And the reports are that his team has made it very clear, like, you want Ben, he's got to have his guys with him. And to an extent, that makes sense. Like, you want a head coach GM combo that are on the same page. You want them to work together. So it would make some sense there. It'll be interesting to watch what goes down with Chicago, especially for me in the NFC North, because look, they have a lot of talent on that roster. The NFC North is already very dangerous. So bringing in good coaching and stuff like that and making things click there, it'll make a tough path forward for the next couple of years if they do right things up there in Chicago. But with that, we'll move on to our next game. Houston Texans going into Tennessee versus the Titans. Again, Titans not playing for a lot. They are locked into one of those top 3 picks as well. And the Texans, they are locked into the playoffs as the AFC South winner. Titans are favored -2 points at home, -110 odds. You can give those points to the Texans for -110 as well. Over under of 36.5. Texans honestly aren't really looking like a playoff team at this point in time. They're looking like one of those one and done type playoff teams. Titans, though, not very good. Will Levis expected to start in this one. And I don't think we need to have a whole lot of conjecture on this game. I'm taking the Texans plus the points just because 2 bad teams not playing for a whole lot. I'll take the team that is getting points in this one because the Titans is not that good. Texans are a better roster, even though they are not playing good right now.
Agreed, man. So I took the Texans plus 1.5 this morning. This also got a little bit bigger, so I'll take the extra half point. Texans plus 2 sounds great. Texans expected to play their starters. Probably won't play them the whole game, but Tennessee's going nowhere. They don't have a quarterback, so I'll go with the team that actually has a little bit of depth.
Yeah. Tony Pollard expected to play in this game as well.
Tony Pollard's got some money on the table this week. Get some incentives.
True. Very much so. And if you want to look at any of those incentives, I have kind of been blasting them all over the Facebook page for the Lineman Lounge. So you can see down below, we've got all of our links, including that Facebook page. Please go check it out. And if you would be so kind, give us a like, share, and subscribe. If you enjoy the content, specifically here on the YouTube, we would love your support if you like what we're going over. It's been a long year, 18 weeks. We're not done yet. We still got the playoffs to go over. And then the whole off season. Please run with us, ride with us. Let us know what we're doing right, wrong. If you disagree or agree with us on these takes. Next up, another bummer of a game here. Jags versus the Colts in Indianapolis. The line has moved pretty significantly on this one as well. I think I saw it at one point in time, Colts -5.5. Right now, it is Colts -3.5 at -110, or you can give those points to the Jags as the away team at -110 as well, over under a 44.5. Anthony Richardson not playing in this game. It will be another Joe Flacco game for the Colts in this one. And again, last week, the Colts put up one of the most embarrassing losses that we've seen from a professional football franchise in recent memory, much to the chagrin of Pat McAfee and Colts fans. Now, I don't know that they can do that 2 weeks in a row. I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a kick in the butt. Shane Steichen is basically going to be like, if you guys aren't going to play, I'm going to fucking fire you because you guys are going to get me fucking fired. I'm taking the Colts dropping the points in this one. Not that either team is good, but I feel like the Colts have to have some sort of a bounce back to show that they shouldn't be the laughingstock or joke of the league like that. Look, when you have a guy like Pat McAfee, who's the biggest positivity Colt supporter guy out there, completely trashing you, you know you're doing something wrong. You need to fix things. Colts minus the points for me in this one.
Okay, so we just took different routes. We have very similar thought processes, but when we got to the decision making, we saw it different ways. Pat McAfee is a huge fan of this team. Colts fans love this team. They're uber supportive, and they laid an absolute fucking egg last week. And Pat said some scathing remarks. I think he kind of probably knows a little bit. He's had Irsay on his fucking show. Has made some remarks about people just not doing the right thing, not doing their job, bad culture. I don't think that fucking culture changes in this last week. I don't think Steichen saves his job. I don't think any of that shit happens. I think they're going to fire everybody in that Colts organization the way this all worked out with the thing with the Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco back and forth, flip-flop, and the choice of fucking Anthony Richardson to begin with. They're going to have somebody's going to have to pay for that. Listen, and that sucks because I was high on him. You were high on him. We loved his raw ability, still do as a raw athlete. Just can't play quarterback. Not right now, not at an NFL level. Somebody has to pay for that. And I think the whole organization is about to get schwacked. I'm taking the Jags plus 3.5.
All righty. Hey, look, this is kind of a toss-up because both teams are bad. They don't have a lot to play for other than pick seeding, I guess. But you don't really do that unless you're going after one of those top 3 picks. And you need a quarterback in particular. Next game, we have the Bills going into New England versus the Patriots. Patriots are getting 3.5 points. It was 2.5 earlier. Now we're up to 3.5 points here, minus 120 odds. Bills minus 102 to drop those points, over under a 35.5. And I'll remind you, just a couple weeks ago, Bills and Patriots played each other. You talked about Drake May versus Josh Allen, how they're kind of similar. Are we going to see some similar things? That was a close game. Bills won, but it was 24-21 in that game, a close one. Josh Allen getting that first snap in this game just to keep his streak of tough man going, but he's going to be pulled out there really quick. Bills are still playing some of their starters, but don't expect them all to be out there all day. Because of this, I think the Patriots might win this game outright, so I'm taking the points. You got the Patriots who are fighting to show they want to be in this roster. Draw Mayo trying to fight to keep his job. I think the Patriots are going to dial something up to keep it at least close. So give me the 3.5 here.
All right, so we saw this one the same way because I think the Bills don't have anything to fucking play for.
No.
The Patriots actually have a little bit of pride to play for, a job to play for. Drake May wants to show to the organization that I'm your guy. I'm going to be a piece for you moving forward. Gerard Mayo needs to prove that he can be a coach that motivates his team late in the year when there's nothing to play for. The Bills are like, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, they're locked into that Tuesday.
Yep, they're locked in. They don't got shit to do. They ain't got shit to play for, and they're not even playing their starters. Well, they're not playing their important starters, even though they're all technically important. You can only sit so many guys.
Yeah.
That talk has been talked about all week. You can only sit so many guys. Josh Allen is not playing. Give me a hungry Drake May who wants to go out there and prove some things, and a hungry Gerard Mayo, Patriots plus the points.
All righty. Next, New York Giants going into Philly. Philly resting pretty much all of its important starters as well. Philly is still favored -2.5 points, -120 odds. You can give those points to the Giants for -102 odds. Over under of 35.5. Drew Lock after that rousing week last week with the Giants. Going out there again, can he put something up against this Philadelphia Eagles team, who is, again, resting most of their guys? They are locked into the 2 spot. Saquon Barkley not getting that record, not even getting a chance at that record. Basically was told earlier in the week, hey, we're shutting you down because we need you for the playoffs. And look, it's an interesting thing. I get it. The pragmatic thing to do is to sit your starters, including him, because if he goes out there, rolls an ankle, and he's not available for you in the playoffs, you lose a huge, if not the biggest component of your offense that has made you so successful this year by not having him out there. You can't afford to have that happen. So I get why you want to sit him. However, you had so many people on that offense coming out saying, we want to play. We want him to play. We want to go for that record. You've got AJ Brown being like, I want to be a part of that team. Oh, shoot. We got a producer Amber here. Trey Lance starting for the Cowboys. We aren't having a Cooper Rush
Amber. I think that's graded.
Well, she messaged from earlier, so it might be. I don't know. Maybe this is grading. Either way, the production family calling in here. Trey Lance is starting.
It is. I don't know what it is. Anyways, Trey Lance getting a start for the Cowboys. Okay.
Yeah. That should factor in a little bit. We already picked that game, but I had the Commanders in that one. I believe you did as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we'll get to see what Trey Lance has there for that Cowboys team. But back to the game that we are on, Giants, Eagles. You had all those players on offense saying, we want to play. We want to help him get the record. A lot of pundits saying, like, let him play the first quarter. And if it looks like he's on track, let him play the second quarter. And then at halftime, you bench him. Like, you have to go one way or the other, man. You have to go one way or the other.
Did Saquon say that he wanted to go for it?
Yes and no. He said everything but. You could tell in the not press conference, in the talk with reporters that he said, hey, I went and talked to Sirianni. He said, okay, I'm going to talk to some other people. I left, and then he called me back in later and said, we're going to sit you. And he's like, so that's the decision. So that's what it is. We got to, be ready for the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. He's like, how am I feeling? He's like, I'm not as upset as my family is. But he wanted to go for it. And Eric Dickerson's record stands.
Okay, I understand the idea of going for the record. But like it's tough when you have some of these mixed signals. Very famous clip now. Sirianni, good guy, going and asking Saquon, hey man, you're right here for a record, right? Do you want to go and get it? No, let the young guys eat. Why would you not think that that's going to be the model then going forward? Like, okay, listen, we're not worried about this record. I'm worried about Saquon, and I'm worried about going into the playoffs. So I can understand, sure, when it's right there on the cusp, you want it. But when you're not as consistent with that, I can understand why Sirianni says, yeah, we're going to sit you down. That should be the decision. It's the more pragmatic one. It helps everybody, helps the team.
It does.
We've already seen this selflessness displayed by Saquon.
The difference is that we're talking about a major piece of NFL history here. Eric Dickerson's record has lasted for decades now. If we look back to in more recent memory, Adrian Peterson had the most yards in a game, right? Most yards rushing. I remember that because I'm a Vikings fan and I watched that game happen. But outside of Vikings fandom, you don't really remember it as much. Adrian Peterson came within, I think, 6 yards of the record. Eric Dickerson's record.
Yeah.
And I watched a pod with football guys saying, hey, do you know who has the second place to Eric Dickerson's record? And they were throwing out a whole bunch of names, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith. It took them a lot of guesses to get to Adrian Peterson. You don't really remember number 2 unless you are a fan of that particular player, that guy. Saquon isn't even going to be number 2 on this list. If you get to number 1 on this list, like, people are going to remember Saquon for being one of the best running backs in the NFL. But unless he starts getting some hardware or some of these major historical accolades, when his career is done, he's not going to fade into obscurity. But after a while, people are going to start to forget kind of who you are. Eric Dickerson, one of the greatest running backs ever,
Valid argument. And honestly, I didn't even think about that and take that into consideration. That's a good fucking point, bro.
Eric Dickerson, if you were to go to one of your junior football teams that you've helped coach or anything like that, and you go to all those players and say, who's Eric Dickerson? Unfortunately, I would bet 70% of the team or more doesn't know who he is. Right? But a lot of us more old timers, we know who he is. We know the record. We know how impressive he was. But as the generations come up, they start to lose sight of who these players are. If Saquon wants to cement that legacy, getting that all-time rushing record kind of sets him up for decades, right? As being one of the greatest running backs ever in NFL history. So not getting that record, it not only hurts his legacy, it hurts his potential earning potential in the future, things like that. I get from a player perspective where it comes from. Even those guys on the team to be able to say, that offensive line to be able to say, I blocked for the rushing champ, the guy who got the most yards ever. We were one of the best offensive lines ever. It is something that those players get to kind of stand on and say, I was a part of this. So it sucks a little bit from a perspective of the entire offense. It sucks for that team because the team would love to have that legacy as well, right? But again, the pragmatic decision, sit your guys, get healthy, because you're going to be going up against a very tough slate of teams here in the NFC. So I get it. I get why you have to do it. I knew they were going to sit him from the get-go. It was the right decision. But that still takes us to this game. Minus 2.5 for the Eagles.
One quick question before we pick, because I think we might go in the same way. Better running back season, touchdown record, rushing yard record.
Man, I don't know. That's tough. It's really based off the scope that you're looking at it, because like Adrian Peterson with the Vikings, he got all those yards. He absolutely completely carried that offense. He got MVP that year.
Nearly as much.
I mean, he scored plenty, but it was like
not 27, not 28, and it wasn't 2,100 yards. So, like when you talk about great running back seasons, I mean, because LeGarrette Blount went for what, 22, 23 one year. So it's the better year the touchdowns, the better year the yards.
LaDainian Tomlinson putting up huge yards and touchdowns. I guess I have to go with the yardage, because if you give a running back a 3rd and goal carry a whole bunch and he's getting those touchdowns, it doesn't mean that he actually put in all the work to get the yardage. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a lot more work involved.
Yards, though, I think that's where you get slow.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one for sure.
All right, I don't want to divert the show too much. We got some more bets to do, but everybody tuning in, thank you right now. We got a good, nice little pop going right here on the show. Everybody, thank you very much. We're gonna dive into this last morning game. We'll show you our picks, and then we'll dive into the afternoon. You ready, brother?
Yeah, but we still got to pick the Giants Eagles.
Oh shit, that's right.
And we still have multiple other morning games.
Mine is easy. And I don't know why we're going to go the other way. At no point has True Lock ever shown to be a consistent player in the NFL. He had a really cool fucking story last week. One of the greatest quarterback performances in NFL history. When you break it all down, that shit is not happening twice. That is an aberration. Give me the Eagles minus the points. I just hope that Kenny Pickett has recovered from the sniper incident that happened last week. Because he got absolutely just somebody, boom, trumped him. Right, I shouldn't say that. Hold on. How do we?
There was another sniper incident in Pennsylvania, right? Earlier.
I should probably not make jokes about that at the moment.
It is what it is. I'm also
he got fucking sniped from behind, from the end zone with that throw.
Yeah, I am also going Eagles minus the points here. Look, I like some of those pieces on the Giants, specifically Tyrone Tracy. He's my dude. I was big on him in the draft process. I'm glad he's having a good year. But this Eagles team is good. They have depth. And the Giants now can no longer get one of those top 3 picks. They need to do whatever they can to try to get as high a pick as possible to be positioning if they want to try to go get one of those quarterbacks. So Eagles minus the points for me here. Next up, Saints versus Bucks. Bucks are getting -14.5 points at -110 odds at home versus this terrible Saints team. Also -110 odds, over under a 44.5. I'm hearing a lot of people saying bet the over on this one. I don't know that I necessarily agree with it. Not saying that I disagree with it, but look, 14.5 points is quite a bit here. Buccaneers need to win to be in for sure. They have their future, their destiny in their hands here if they want to go into the playoffs. Right now, they are expected to go in the playoffs, but they need to win here in order for that to happen. Otherwise, if they lose, they need the Falcons to also lose. Bucks, absolutely, I expect to win this game.
Yep, me too.
14.5 points. That is quite a clip, though. The only person that stopped Drew Lock from being the NFC Player of the Week, though, Baker Mayfield, with a outstanding performance last week. I expect him to have another good day. Again, I think that they want to roll into the playoffs with good mojo, good vibes, not just a win, but a real good win. This is divisional matchup here, but I'm still taking the Buccaneers minus the 14.5 points in this one, more than 2 scores. I could see it being like a 17-point win here.
Okay, so listen, I love Baker. I'm a Baker guy. I've never hidden that fact. Baker, great year. One of his best years ever. Threw quite a few picks. Still, I think it's like 16 picks, 15, 16 picks. So that's a lot. But most yards, most touchdowns. He's going to have a great year in his career. But one thing that Baker has done pretty consistently in his career is choke in really pressure situations. Now, I think that they're going to win, but this is going to be a lot fucking closer than it should be. Baker's going to make a mistake and keep the fucking Saints in this thing. Because that's what Baker does late in the year, man. Baker tries to play this big-time hero ball. He knows that he needs a win. His team absolutely has to win. You know who's going to make sure that they do? Baker fucking Mayfield. Baker is going to make all the plays that Baker needs to make. But Baker is going to step outside of that, and he's going to try to do something he shouldn't. He's going to make a mistake, and he's going to keep the Saints close. I do think the Bucs win, but I am taking the Saints plus the points. I am not dropping 14.5 for the Bucs.
All righty. Well, that wraps up for our morning slate of games. You want to throw up what we got here so far for the people if you want to bet along with us or not in these games?
Absolutely. So I got Panthers, you got Falcons, both on the Commanders, both on the Packers, both on the Texans. I'm going Jags, you're going Colts. We're both on the Patriots, both on the Eagles. I'm going Saints, you're going Bucks. So not too many differences here. I think for the most part, we can kind of talk ourselves into either one of those things. I don't necessarily hate your Colts pick. I just, like I said, we just diverged right there at that decision-making process.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. All right. A game that people are probably going to be watching here because, again, this matters for that last spot there in the AFC. Kansas City Chiefs going into Denver. The plane apparently did get off. Icy conditions there in Kansas City. They were grounded for a while, but I believe they are in Denver now. Kansas City going into Denver versus the Broncos. Broncos are favored minus 10.5 points at minus 120 odds. You can give those points to the Chiefs, minus 102 odds, over under of 40.5. Broncos played the Chiefs pretty damn close earlier in the year. However, the Chiefs are sitting all their guys, like as many guys as they can. Carson Wentz is going out there to be the starter. Remember, Carson Wentz was in the MVP conversation several years ago. He is what he is now, but maybe rehabilitated under Andy Reid a little bit. Well, it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do there. But Chiefs sitting most of those guys, they're getting something like 25 days of rest is what's expected. They're almost getting a full month of rest for that Chiefs team. It almost feels like too much. Like that could make them kind of be slumpy maybe when they first get to play the divisional round. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about this game. If the Broncos win, they are in. They seal up the whole thing for the playoffs. Again, if they lose, then there is a path for that Bengals team to get in. Cortland Sutton, big day for him. I believe he needs like 85 yards after a contract restructure early in the year. If he gets something like 85 yards, he hits like a $3 million bonus. So expect him to kind of be fed the ball a little bit today.
He'll be fed the ball until halftime.
Yeah. And that's the thing here.
He's going to need Bo Nix to do him a solid.
Yeah. And Bo's the type of guy that would do that. He's a man of God. Get the man his money.
Yeah.
But this one is interesting because look, I really do expect the Broncos to win this game. They're playing at home. They're playing for that playoff spot. Sean Payton is going to have them ready to go, and you're going up against a bunch of Chiefs backups, and this Chiefs team has been lackluster this year, for lack of a better term. Like they have not been that great. It's good on them for getting the 1 seed. The narratives are abundant as far as refs helping them out and this and that and the other. The Swifties helping guys like Kelsey get into the Pro Bowl. Like it seems like they're getting a lot of outside help, but you're playing backups today. It makes sense that the Broncos should win this one, right? But this line has continually moved. It is now 10.5 points. I'm going the Chiefs plus the 10.5, brother. I think that it actually might be about a 7-8 point game here, closer than it should be because the Chiefs still kind of play people closer. I think that they have a good roster, good depth there. I think Carson Wentz might have a little bit of juice to keep it a little bit closer. Yeah, I think the Chiefs could keep it a little close here, and I'm going with them plus the 10.5.
All right. Once again, we're going to disagree here, my man. The Broncos have to win. The Broncos are going to play their guys for a while until this game is secured. Once they feel this game is comfortable, they will probably start pulling guys out. That's why Cortland Sutton's going to have to get his yards early, because I expect that the Broncos will go up pretty early. I'm not this Chiefs-led offense with Carson Wentz pulling the trigger. I mean, they're fucking struggling with Pat Mahomes pulling the trigger. I'm not expecting the gangbusters here by any means. I think the Broncos, who will be playing their starters against some of the reserves of the Chiefs defense, which is very good, will probably put up enough points. That's where I'm going. So I'm going Broncos minus 10.5. I hope Bo Nix doesn't go for classic Bo Nix.
I think the Broncos will put up enough points. I don't know if it'll be enough points to cover. That's my concern there. Next game, though. Chargers going into Vegas versus the Raiders. Raiders are getting 6.5 points as home dogs, minus 102 odds. You can drop those points for the Chargers, minus 120 odds. Sounds like the Chargers are still going to be playing guys. That's a Harbaugh-style move. They're going to be playing their dudes. J.K. Dobbins maybe gets a little bit less play out there just because, he's coming off of that injury, and obviously he's pivotal for that team.
Give the man a series and then get him off the fucking field.
Yeah. Over under a 42.5. This Chargers team absolutely should win. This Raiders team, not very good. Raiders, they kind of need to lose to continue to try to position themselves as best as possible to move up and get a quarterback if they want a Shadur or something like that. Otherwise, they're going to be looking at that free agent market, which is sparse in this offseason. Unless you're a big Aiden O'Connell fan. I know some people are. I don't know why, but some people are Aiden O'Connell fans. But this one for me is pretty simple. Chargers playing starters. Harbaugh doesn't just take his foot off the gas. Not like Dan Campbell, but he doesn't take his foot off the gas. I'm going Chargers minus the 6.5 here.
I'm following suit, man. Chargers minus 6.5 for me as well. The fact that they're going to play their guys. I mean, the Raiders obviously are going to come out. They're going to play hard. Antonio Pierce is a motivational coach, good coach. There's not a lot of talent there, which he's going to end up paying for, which sucks for him. But yeah, I'm going Chargers as well.
Look, it makes sense here too for the Chargers to want to win this game for sure. They're 10-6 right now. They're currently the 5 seed. By winning this game, they maintain that 5 seed over the Pittsburgh Steelers. That means that this first wildcard week of the playoffs, they would be going up against the Houston Texans in Houston. That is a team that they can beat. I would rather be playing them than, say, the Baltimore Ravens at the 6 seed. So, yeah, absolutely. They're going to want to go out there. I think they can win by at least a touchdown. All right, next up. Yep, absolutely. Next up, Seattle Seahawks versus the LA Rams. Rams plus 7 points, home dog. They are sitting everybody as well. All of their star position players on that offense, which makes them so dynamic. The defense, not so much, because that defense is kind of bereft of talent. I'm still waiting to hear Aaron Donald's coming out of retirement for the playoffs.
That'd be so dope, dude.
I don't think it's going to happen, but wilder things have happened. Either way, Rams home dogs versus
Can you imagine how fucking much you would have to change everything that you have thought about this Rams defense, because you put Aaron Donald on that front, this whole defense gets way fucking better.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, quite honestly. Jimmy Garoppolo going to be out there as the starter, though, for the Rams in this one. We'll see if he's got any of the shine, any of the magic that he had.
Hey,
in a couple
Baker
of
Mayfield showed up on fucking 2 days and was able to ball out.
Look, and McVay does good things with quarterbacks. Garoppolo obviously was there with Shanahan. He was able to milk as much as possible out of Garoppolo there. I think it's going to be a short check down style offense, but again, they're going with a lot of backups there for the Rams. That's why they are not favored in this one. And Seattle is obviously going to be playing their guys, trying to see what they got. They aren't resting anybody. I expect a big day for Zach Charbonnet in this one, going up against a already porous Rams offense. I'm taking the Hawks -7 in this one to beat the LA Rams.
I agree, man. Seahawks dropping the points. They are going to play. The Rams don't give a fuck about this game.
They're locked in. Yeah, they have their division
locked in. They know exactly where they're fucking going. I'm pretty sure their seeding is done. They are the 4 seed as the worst division winner.
Well, it depends if the Bucks win this week.
Bucks win.
We'll have to be looking at strength of schedule. As of right now, I believe that the Bucks have a stronger strength of schedule at 518 versus 500 for the Rams. So it'll be the 3 or 4 seed, depending on how things shake out.
They're locked in. They don't give a shit. I'm taking the Seahawks as well. I don't need to do a big diatribe. The Seahawks need to play their guys to see what they got.
Yeah. All right. Next up,
6.5 now, or is it still 7?
It is 7. All right. Next, we have the Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets. Jets are favored -1.5 points, -105 odds. You can give those points to the Dolphins at -115, over under of 39.5. Dolphins, again, have a lot to play for, but Tua is not going to be out there. And we know how that goes. Like that, Snoop Huntley did good things the past week. I'm not going to talk about that.
Good things is a fucking relative term when you're talking about competing against the Browns over the last few weeks.
Right. And you have the Jets, who are, again, kind of in shambles. But you have Aaron Rodgers going to be going out there playing until he takes himself out after he gets that 500th passing touchdown, potentially to Devontae. Expect them just to force feed that situation. Look, I talk about the hungry dog going for the bone all the time. Dolphins need to win to have a chance, right? However, Aaron Rodgers is the biggest villain in the NFL. He's embraced that villain role. He likes to play that villain role. He's going to play the villain role today. Jets are going to get the win here, unfortunately. I'm taking Jets -1.5 points.
My analysis is pretty simple. Fuck Aaron Rodgers. Dolphins
Agreed.
+1.5.
All right. All right, brother. Then we have our last of the afternoon games. San Francisco 49ers going into Arizona versus the Cardinals team that seems adrift and a lot of question marks about Kyler. Is he the guy? The stats about Call of Duty Black Ops 6, we originally were like, it's not making a difference. Well, it's making a hell of a fucking difference. It seems like things have not been good since the release.
A lot of interceptions since Black Ops 6.
Yeah.
Zombies, Cardinals, bro, by the way. Zombies, love that shit. I started playing zombies the other night when the fucking Browns were getting their dicks kicked in. I was like, I'm still fucking finished with this.
Still haven't played it yet. I've played Black Ops 6, but not the zombies.
Dude, producer Amber's in on it now too. You, and the old Vanilla Gorilla and producer Amber need to roll through a round of zombies. Anyways, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. This is the content that people want. Cardinals still favored in this game, -4.5 points at -112 odds. 49ers getting those 4.5 at -108 odds, over under 42.5. This one feels a little bit more like a coin flip to me because both teams aren't playing for a whole lot. The thing is that the 49ers, while they are beat up, I still like a lot of the offensive talent that they have out there. Josh Dobbs, though, starting at quarterback for this 49ers team. The Pastronaut back at it again. He didn't look absolutely terrible when he played in this last game. And the Cardinals defense, they are mediocre, milquetoast kind of average. He could probably get a couple on them. So I think this game could be close. Cardinals could still win, but I'm going to take the points for the 49ers here. I think that they could keep it relatively close divisional game here.
All right. So I'm going the opposite way, brother. This is one of those classic. Kyler shows up at the end of the year, tries to have a great showing, and then everybody's like, "Oh yeah, look at all the great things that he did to finish out the year." Like they're stuck in purgatory. It feels like with Kyler Murray. It's kind of middling. Big pop. Ooh, look, Kyler's the guy. Middling. Call of Duty comes out. He sucks. Back to middling. Back to a great game. Like there's nothing. I expect that he will probably come out and have a really good game against a depleted 49ers team and beat the fuck up. Because he's going to convince everybody that he can be the answer because he's supremely talented. He just can't put it together week after week after week. I feel terrible for Cardinals fans, but that's kind of the way it's been. Up, down, left, right, A, B, select star, baby.
No.
He's a cheat code, but it never works.
Not in this day and age. Game Genie doesn't exist anymore, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right, baby.
It is, and that's a throwback for the older audience that's watching.
That's right. Hey, listen, our YouTube audience, little in the older crowd, 35 to 55. They know what's up.
All right, very good. And that takes us to our last game of the week. I don't know how the story could have been written better for this.
Do you want me to go first so you can have a second to decompress? Do you want me to lay the groundwork? Because I know that you are chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I will preface this one, okay? So Minnesota going into Detroit. Detroit is favored -2.5 points at -120 odds. You can give those points to the Vikings for -102 odds. Largest spread of the year over under of 56.5. This one's for all the marbles. It is potentially the biggest regular season game of the year, if not one of the biggest regular season games ever in the NFL. First time 2 14-win teams are going against each other. This is the most wins by two franchises in the same game. To have it come down to the end for the NFC North, for the 1 seed, for a bye week in the first week of the playoffs, you can argue back and forth who it's most important for to have that bye week. A Lions team with a beat-up defense, a Vikings team on a 9-game win streak, but going into Detroit, one of the only teams that they lost to this year. It is set up to be one of the best games of the year. I'm super excited. Go ahead, Mike. Tell me your thoughts on this game.
Okay, man. So early in the year, I was not gambling great, and I was doing a lot of deep dives. I was doing historicals, and I did a lot on the Lions because they're one of the most profitable teams to bet on in all of football. My little FanDuel summary shows that I bet on the Lions a lot because I like to follow the money. However, one of those historical stats that always pops up when you're talking about the Lions and gambling is when the point spread is over 50 points, the under typically hits when you're talking about a Dan Campbell-led team. And I think that it might actually be the case here. I think this is going to be a great game. Do I think it's going to be a shootout where we're getting 30 to 31? Not necessarily. These are two good defenses. Now, the Lions defense is starting to be cobbled together because they are so banged up. But that coaching staff has done a great job of getting everybody they get in ready and playing, with maybe the exception of Jamal Adams over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. Your defense is also a very good defense, attacking style defense. I believe that this will be a lower scoring in the 20s for both teams style of game. Really good, really entertaining, kind of grinded out, smash mouth. Somebody's punching you in the fucking mouth football. And I'm here for it. And because of that, because I don't expect this crazy high score, I'm taking the points. I'm taking the Vikings, and I'm taking the points. I feel like you guys are really catching stride. Sam Darnold he might have found a home for quite some time, especially if he goes out there and does what he's capable of doing today. It's I'm really looking forward to this game. If you're looking for a shootout, I don't know that this is the right place, but I think this is going to be one of the more entertaining games that we have seen all year and in quite some time because it means a fuckload. So the atmosphere inside the stadium alone is going to be wild.
Yeah.
Evo, what you got, brother?
Yeah, it's extremely, extremely exciting for me to be able to watch this game in general. It should be exciting for everyone that's invested in football, just because, again, historic style matchup. Like, very rarely do you have this sort of atmosphere, this sort of stakes on the line. It's been playoff football for the Vikings the past 2 weeks. This is playoff football in week 18 for the Vikings as well, just as much as it is for the Lions. You can look back historically to when they played, I believe, week 8 and compare some of the things there. But the reality is that they're two different teams at this point. Good teams evolve. They stand on their business, but they still evolve with what's going on. The biggest difference, I think, here does come down to the Lions and their injuries, and that's going to affect things quite a bit. Um, Offensively, obviously, the Lions are down David Montgomery, but in many ways, the focus being more pushed onto Jahmyr Gibbs is good for him. We're getting to see a lot more of how talented Jahmyr Gibbs is, and I still expect him to have a good day. Jared Goff, under pressure, one of the best in the NFL, and we know that the Vikings defense brings a lot of pressure. The difference from when we first played each other defensively for the Vikings is that Blake Cashman was out in that game. We have won every game that Blake Cashman has played. He wasn't there for that game. He's one of the big leaders on that defense. He's going to be out there this week. All right. Very, very opportunistic defenses for both of these defenses. The Vikings bring a lot of pressure. It'll be interesting to see if Brian Flores dials the pressure back to force Jared Goff to dissect things a little bit more. We'll see how it goes. That's one of the key matchups is how does Brian Flores play this offense because Jared Goff is so good against the pressure. Is he going to say, okay, I'm going to dial the pressure back and adjust, or am I going to keep bringing the pressure because the guy cannot consistently, like, it's got to break at some point. We'll see what happens. I'm really interested to watch that. Also, looking at the other side of it, the Lions defense, very, very injured, right? They're down one of their top cornerbacks, broken jaw. Alex Anzalone expected to possibly play in this game. He's questionable, activated off the IR. He was their leading tackler before going down. That's a big get for them if he plays. But I think the biggest, most important loss that they have on that defense right now, compared to when we played them early in the year, is Aleem McNeil, their defensive tackle. Aleem McNeil, big disruptor in the middle for them. And that's one of the weakest points of this Vikings offense is that interior offensive line. If you're able to create that pressure from the middle on Sam Darnold, that creates a little bit more problems. Now, Sam Darnold, also one of the better quarterbacks against the pressure out there, right? So not having Aleem McNeil out there is not going to help the Lions at all defending the run. Aaron Jones had a really good day against them in week 8. Sam Darnold had a good game against them. It came down to the end in a field goal, right? Except for this Lions defense now is more hurt. They don't have that interior rush. The Vikings on offense, they have TJ Hawkinson now. They are getting things rolling with Addison, Hawkinson, Jefferson. All those guys are doing good things. I like how things have swayed in the Vikings direction. That's not just me being a homer. It's just X's and O's. They are more hurt on defense. We are healthier on offense and defense. Dan Campbell runs this brand of football where it is all gas, no break, goes for it. I think on 38% of fourth downs, we know that's going to be coming. We will be prepared for it. Expect that Kevin O'Connell is probably going to start to match that a lot more because this game could, I know you say it's not going to be a shootout, but it could come down to who has the most possessions, who makes a mistake on offense and turns the ball over, because both these defenses are opportunistic. I believe the Lions have like the third most turnovers on defense. The Vikings have tied for the first most.
A lot of turnovers means not a lot of points.
It could mean that, but with both these offenses, I feel like they're going to feel pressured to every possession. We need to get some points, and they're probably going to be pushing for it. I'm taking my Vikings plus the points here because I like the way that the rosters are stacked out. I like the vibes that the Vikings have. Vikings ownership goes out, spends $2 million to buy an extra 1,900 tickets
Dude,
behind
I was going
the
to ask
away
you
bench.
about it.
And then they give it to season ticket holders at a discounted price. I love the way the ownership is backing the team and making sure that we have people there for it. And then Lions get upset. They contact the league office.
This is why the Vikings organization gets fucking A's on their goddamn report card. Shit like this is why that organization gets A's every year. Since they started doing this, your organization has been what, top 3 every year?
Yeah, they've won 2 years ago, second last year. Like they've been great.
Yeah. So and it's stuff like this, man. What a cool thing for your organization to do, or the ownership group to do, because they're doing it at a loss and they know that. Obviously, the Lions went and protested to the league about, like, these motherfuckers bought all these tickets and gave them away. I mean, technically, you're allowed to do that. I think.
League said there's no problem. League said there's no problem.
50 Cent didn't have a problem doing it to Ja Rule at his concert.
Yep.
Did you ever hear about that?
Yes. It's a pretty common thing in rap culture now.
Dude, it's so funny, bro. It's
look, whoever gets this 1 seed, I think, is going to be representative of the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Agreed.
The being able to have that extra time to rest, heal, get ready for the playoffs is going to be important. It's arguably more important for Detroit with all their injuries.
It's way more important for them. If they get that time, this team is going to be dangerous.
Yeah. But I feel something about this Vikings team because no one expected them to. They're expecting 6.5 was that win.
Listen, I will fucking eat crow hard as shit. I was like, this guy's talking about Sam Darnold. Like,
I think I had him at like 10 wins.
I
think I had him at about 10 wins. But there's something about this team that you kind of feel in your plums every now and then when you're watching. Of like, I don't want to hammer on it too hard, but it feels kind of like that team of destiny situation. That locker room after the win versus the Packers, it still gets me emotional to watch Kevin O'Connell sitting against the wall and then lifting Sam Darnold up, spraying the water everywhere, and just the smile on KOC's face to be like, this culture that I built here, these guys, they're having fun. They are loving their teammates. It feels like something special is building there. I feel like they can beat any team in the league. They almost beat Detroit for the entire year. We talked about them being the best team in the NFL.
Yeah. And
they almost beat them that first week, came down to the end. And then it feels special right now to go out there and in Detroit to get this win this week would be huge. KOC has preached over and over and over again. 1-0. And that's normal coach talk. But I think the guys have bought into that rhetoric of like, we know we're going to the playoffs. We can't think differently. We have to prepare every week the same way. No one gave us any credence, and look where we are now. We are going to do our thing. We're going to do it our way. 1-0. This is the biggest 1-0 that they got all season. And it's truly for all the marbles. Best way to cap off this season in week 18.
Absolutely. And another little piece of this, that a line from your coach that we've echoed on this show a few times now. And I think is kind of true of both of these quarterbacks that we're going to see. Teams fail young quarterbacks well before, these quarterbacks typically fail their teams. Or however the fuck KOC said it. You say it better than I do. Jared Goff, a guy that was cast away from the Rams because they couldn't win a Super Bowl with him, or so their thought was, has got his team in prime position to go out and compete for a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold, cast off from multiple locations, has his team in position to be able to go out and compete for a fucking Super Bowl. I mean, that young quarterback thing is starting to ring true. We're seeing it a little bit out of Bryce Young. He's playing much better. There is some credence to that. There's a couple guys I will for sure eat crow on at some point, it feels like. But what a great fucking story. What's that?
Zach Wilson.
Nah, I don't know about it. Don't know. Listen, I'm going to stick Zach Wilson and Deshaun Watson. I'm stuck on those trains that they're not good quarterbacks. It is going to take it's going to take something massive to change that decision at this point. Sam Darnold, though, you know what? Came out and did something incredibly impressive this year. It completely changed my mind. Do I think the coaching helps? Yes. Do I think he could create all of this somewhere else? No, unless it's out in LA with the Rams. But what a great story of these two guys. And I'm excited for this game.
It's a fun. I'm not gonna I will be very bummed, obviously, if we were to lose to the Lions.
Right.
But if there's someone that I would want it to be to, it would be the Lions because of their story and Dan Campbell. I think it's like the 70s when they last won a division title. Like, it has been forever. And I don't think it needs to start today. Like, Skull Vikings, go out there and get that win for all the fucking marbles, man.
So to my friend of the show now, Devin Dent, who's been on the show, big Lions fan. Hey, brother, listen, this is no disrespect to your Lions. I think you guys are so fucking good. I just gotta go with the Vikings this week, man. The injuries are starting to pile up. I love the way that organization is headed, though. You guys in the Lions are going to be a fucking problem for the next few years. I think that those two teams are the teams that we'll see ascend more so than we're going to see the Packers take that next step forward, because I don't like Jordan Love that much.
It's going to be wild because, look, these two teams might see each other again in the playoffs.
Yeah.
By divisional weekend, even. Like, it might be Lions, Vikings back-to-back games, essentially. Like, it'll be interesting.
Well, if that happens, if we get Lions, Vikings back-to-back weeks, give me whoever loses this week.
Back-to-back for whoever the one seed is, that is.
Right, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. That'll be
I'll still take whoever loses this week in that rematch.
That's the thing. If the Vikings were to lose this week, it is very rare that a team beats another team three times. So I suppose that would be better.
Yeah.
But damn, I want some home field advantage, man.
Obviously.
I really want it.
Obviously. Oh, we got one more game, brother. Oh, no, we don't. That was it. No more Monday night. That was it. Last game of the week.
That wraps week 18. Like I said, the perfect pinnacle cap to the season is this game. Potentially the best, most important regular season game of the year or all time, it seems like, is this game on Sunday night.
I'm excited. Great day of football for one
drama
last time for the people. That intense drama. One last time for the people. Here are the picks. Picking up from where we left off, I believe. Broncos, you went with the Chiefs. We're both on the Chargers, both on the Seahawks. I'm taking the Dolphins. You're taking the Jets. I'm taking the Cards. You're taking the Vikings. You're taking the 49ers. And we're both on the Vikings here at the end. Roberto Gussolini popping in real quick with the Go Giants. Of course he is.
He's a big Shithawks fan. So
yeah. But man, hell of a season. Let's hope for some good things here with the picks. Both go over 500. Have a hell of a day. My season is over. I just get to enjoy the entire day of football without the stress of knowing that my team is about to get the shit kicked.
Yeah. But we'd be remiss if we didn't cap off this year with one more Lineman Lounge parlay for the people. If you want to bet along with us, this is our Week 18 Lineman Lounge parlay. Mike, go ahead and brief the people.
Listen, it's a tough week to bet. It's a really tough week to bet. Baker Mayfield they have to win, but his yards are a little high for me, considering that I think he's going to make some mistakes. However, 225 seems doable in a game that they have to win. Bucks will put the ball in his hands, especially if they're down late. So
Mike Evans, man. Mike Evans needs like 85 yards and a tutty to get that money. That's a big one this week. I expect Baker to be feeding it to him.
Yeah, so I think Baker hits over 225. Kyler, like I said, I think he's going to have one of those games where he just kind of comes out, shows, oh, yeah, I'm really good. I'm very talented. I could be the guy. And then he'll be inconsistent wildly after. And then Bo Nix, another game they have to win. I don't know that Bo Nix gets pulled out. He's a rookie unless their offensive line is just not blocking and he's getting battered. He's not coming out of the game. So 225 feels like something that's very doable, especially if the Chiefs actually start putting points on the board with the Carson Wentz-led team. Bo Nix over there. Obviously, the odds are a little light at plus 390. That is mostly because of Baker's yards. Baker's at like 260 something projected for this week. So I chopped that way down just because I think there's going to be potential issues there.
All righty. And for my parlay, little Seahawks heavy here in the beginning because they're playing up against a Rams team with a bad defense that's already going to be sitting people. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 70 or more receiving yards. He's been one of the bigger focal points on that offense. He's kind of been blowing up, especially here at the end of the year. Zach Charbonnet, primary back there. Expect him to go over 79.5 rushing and receiving yards. More of a receiving back, but when he has been in there as a primary runner, again, Kenneth Walker shut down for the year. He's been putting up some good yards as well, going up against that bad defense. And then Sam Darnold, I'm expecting him to go 2 touchdowns or more passing, so over 1.5 passing touchdowns. This gives you 450 odds because I expect that last game to be gangbusters. Look, Justin Jefferson, I didn't bring it up. He has real good games against the Lions, especially in Detroit. So hoping for a big day from him, especially with that secondary being depleted. So 450 odds for my parlay, a little bit better than yours, but again, lower here this week because odds are wonky because of all these week 18 games, guys sitting, going up against backups, things like that.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Well, that does it. That is the last game for week 18. We'll be back on Tuesday night to recap week 18 and kind of start previewing games for the upcoming week because we're going to have some Saturday games, some playoff games, some Sunday games as well. We're going to have to figure out exactly what we're covering this week and how it's all going to work out with the playoff schedule. But to everybody that tuned in today, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be able to come on here, bullshit with Evo, and have you guys tune in, interact with us. It's awesome. Thank you guys very much. We've had a lot of growth recently on our YouTube, and we have all of you to thank for that. So thank you very much. Time is the most valuable thing that you have. So anytime you spend some of it with us, we are forever grateful. But with that, we're going to get out of here. If you guys want to interact with our show, go to X, Facebook, TikTok, the call line, which is going to close right now, and then our YouTube that I talked about. Guys, what a great year of football. This culminating week. I thank everybody for this trip that we've been on all year. I'm glad it's over for the Browns, and I'm rooting for you and your Vikings, Evo. But with that, man, let's give the people one last word. Let's get out of here and enjoy some football because we got about 23 minutes before games kick off.
Absolutely. Thank you again, everyone who's tuned in today, everyone who has supported us this entire year. This has been a fun football season. It has been way different for us on the picks. We are fighting to get around 500, where in previous years we have been well above 500. But thank you for riding along with us. Again, we are growing. We appreciate the growth. If you aren't already a part of the Lineman Lounge family, please take a second, like, share, and subscribe our channel. It only takes you just a moment to go on there, like us or subscribe to us on the YouTube page. We really, really appreciate it. We're trying to get up there with some of the other big names. And we love putting our content out there. We aren't going to bullshit you like some places. We are going to keep it raw from two dummies.
We're gonna say some shit you're probably not gonna like. It might be a little uncouth.
And that's perfectly fine. You can
Yes.
clap back at us in the comments. We love it. We love it. But thank you so much.
Guys. We thrive off of fucking just going at it.
Yeah, both Army vets. So if you want to support your veterans, like, share, and subscribe.
Punk chat more.
Absolutely. But my final word for the week is Skol Vikings. Let's defend the North. Thank you all for tuning in and watching.
Guys, hey, to a great NFL season. Thank you very much to you and yours. Good luck to your teams today. If you're a Browns fan, there's always next year. I'm Mike. That's Evo. This is the Lineman Lounge. See you.